All right. Well, this is going to be real quick. This is a quick segment of Ah Hell Nah. Now, I have been hearing about people talk about the rise in crime in the city of Atlanta. Um, so I started following it, and sure enough, it has gotten increasingly worse. Okay. And to top it off, there is controversy with the newly elected mayor. I can't remember how long she's been in office. I want to say 2 years. Um, Lisa Land Bottoms, Mayor Bottoms. So basically, just over the past weekend, Atlanta hosted the All Star game. And you all, that weekend proved to be deadly. Okay. But before that weekend, Atlanta has had a high streak of crime, specifically robbing people in one of the upscale malls called Lenox, as well as crime has gotten so bad in a neighborhood called Buckhead. And those of you not familiar with Atlanta, Buckhead is in the city of Atlanta, and it is one of the richest cities in Atlanta, if not the richest. I would have to check. And it used to be a party spot back in the day, and they used to have something called the Bar District, where you could literally, it was a couple of blocks of just nothing but bars. And I have to admit, we used to have a ball. The party would start Thursday night all the way up to Sunday, and you would literally walk the Bar District, going from bar to bar, just having a good time. I mean, celebrities used to frequent it, as well as the athletes. Atlanta used to really, really be a fun place. It was a great place if you wanted to start over. You could literally move to Atlanta and within a day have you a job, and a good paying job at that. Okay, but riffraff started to make that bar district be crime ridden, and plus the bar district had so much traffic coming through it, and it was so loud that the residents of Buckhead, which are older people, Buckhead has always had kind of a older people vibe to it. Back then, it also had a large gay community, but the older people complained about it. The older residents of Buckhead, and Mayor Shirley Franklin and the city council, they pretty much shut down that bar district. Okay. And so the party, per se, moved to Midtown. All right. And Midtown went through this resurgent. Piedmont Park was cleaned up. So now the party is in Midtown, and then a lot of the other neighborhoods in Atlanta have come on the come up also, like the east side of Atlanta. And as all of this resurgent was going on, you also had what they call gentrification. So, meaning as the projects of Atlanta were being shut down. So, all of the projects in Atlanta are essentially shut down. People were being displaced. They were giving vouchers out to different places that, number one, would accept them. So I could say Clayton County was one of them. Don't quote me on the other places because I don't know the other suburbs that were accepting those vouchers. But also, in order to qualify for the voucher, you couldn't have a felony and all of this jazz. Okay, so it was a big stink because there was a huge number of folks that were displaced. All right, so I'm just giving you a little bit of background. And I do want to add that Atlanta is not the only city that went through gentrification and that is also still going through gentrification. Another area that was really, really built up was something called Grant Park. I could not believe, because I was coming from the suburbs of Atlanta, moving to the city. And when I found out these different places that quote, quote, used to be the hood, some of them I knew of, but some of them I'm like, that can't possibly be so. And Grant Park was one of those places that they said was the absolute hood. Along with over on the east side, where now they have a golf course. And I think they used to call that Little Beirut or something like that, like a war zone. All right. But now Grant Park, which has the Atlanta Zoo there, absolutely drop dead beautiful. The average house price there is probably on the low end 300 grand, all the way up to $1 million. Okay, so this is how much gentrification is going on in the city of Atlanta. All right, so that started probably, well, they really said, to be honest, it started after the Olympics, but it really kicked forward, fast track, the early 2000s. All right. So in addition to that, you had a lot of industry move to Atlanta. You had a lot of people move to Atlanta, professional people move to Atlanta. And there was a lot of money in Atlanta. Okay. So, but the flip side is you still had a bunch of folks that were displaced. All right. So you essentially had people that were professionals that were able to make a decent living. And then you had a population who was not able to make the shift from Atlanta changing into a metropolitan city from an income perspective. All right. And one thing about Atlanta, if you don't have some type of profession, or you're not a business owner that's able to be self-sufficient and self-profitable, it will be extremely hard for you to make a living there. Okay, so that last group of people is the ones, in addition to some of them being displaced, because I don't want it to be put out there that everyone fits that category of being displaced, being put out the projects. But from the basis of income perspective, if you fall in the category where you don't have a profession or you don't have a business where you can be self-sustainable, that puts you in the category of struggling for income. Because what dried up in Atlanta was the manufacturing jobs. And once they started doing the gentrification, they did a lot of rezoning, and that kind of put the nail in the coffin for the population that don't fit the category of being a professional or having their own business. Because a lot of the folks, now this is what I was told by many people, they would have their own like pop-ups, you know, or as we say, melanated people say, side hustles. All right. Now, the side hustles that I'm referring to are, you know, the t-shirt man. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The t-shirt man, the sock man, the incense lady who would be in the different areas selling their products. Y'all know the perfume man and the perfume lady. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. And because Atlanta also has a huge tourist base because of all of the events that they host and it is the hub for Black melanated music and now film industry. There is a lot of money to be made from that perspective, from that particular category of folks who had their side hustle. All right. And the purse man, I forgot the purse man. So essentially, these folks, they were not licensed, but they were literally able to feed their families just by doing these things. Literally, just by doing these things. One lady said she moved to Atlanta from up north, and she was selling like different kind of socks. And then she moved into selling like earrings that she made. And she literally moved to Atlanta just to do that. And she was self-sustaining herself. Okay. And this is not to mention that the cost of living was cheap. It was cheap. It was reasonable. Okay. So now fast forward and you have this gentrification that are shifting populations around. And on top of that, the prices in Atlanta, although they are relatively low compared to other metropolitan cities, to show you how things have gone up across the country. And next week, I'm going to put out a podcast regarding the economics in America. But the prices have risen much, much larger than folks' income in Atlanta, specifically housing. And that is also including rent. Okay. So I'm just giving you the foundation of what went on in Atlanta. You know, what's the economic landscape? Now, that does not mean in any shape, form, or fashion that I am justifying the shenanigans that is currently going on with the violence and the theft. Not by any means whatsoever. Me considering myself an Atlantean, you know, I had even gotten frustrated with Atlanta with the amount of theft. I never experienced the violence, thank goodness, but just the constant theft. Okay, so by no means am I justifying any of this. So let's fast forward to this article came out on March 8th. This is on from WSB TV, Channel 2. You Atlanteans, y'all know what I'm talking about. Now, this article is Man Found Shot to Death in Burning Car. Caps off violent weekend in Atlanta. All right. So this was on the Monday. This article is on the Monday after the All-Star weekend. All right. Now, before I even get to reading this article, there's a breaking news streaming across here saying suspect arrested after 3 carjacking incidents within minutes in Atlanta. So I haven't even been able to read y'all this article without another breaking news at the top about carjacking, because I was going to mention that. Now they back into carjacking. I just saw a video of a young lady who went to the gas station, went in, paid for her gas, saw 2 gentlemen standing in front of the gas station. The young lady came out of the gas station, got in her car. One of the gentlemen got in the car, put a gun up to her head. The other gentleman yanked her out of the car and slammed her to the ground. And this was all caught on video camera at the doggone gas station. And I don't know what spooked them or whatever. She thinks it because they couldn't find her car key in the car, but they wind up running off with 2 phones. So she felt that it was going to be a carjacking. So I ain't heard about no carjackings, y'all, in a minute. It's been a long time since I heard about some carjackings, because you would think with all of this technology, how they could track your car, that folks wouldn't be taking no risk like that. All right. So let's get into this article. Man found shot to death in burning car caps off violent weekend in Atlanta. Atlanta firefighters putting out a car fire made a horrific discovery, a body inside. Police are investigating this death as a homicide. Crews were called to the car fire around 2 a.m. Monday on 6th Street in Northwest Atlanta. This death investigation caps off a violent weekend in the city and in metro Atlanta. At least 13 shootings were investigated. Bullets were flying in neighborhoods, outside gas stations, and in several clubs. Police responded to 2 shootings on Oak Street at around 8:30 p.m. Sunday. One man was found dead of a gunshot wound at the scene. Another victim with a gunshot wound was taken to the hospital. Police say the 2 shootings are related. Around 5 p.m. Sunday, police responded to reports of a shooting at the racetrack gas station on Piedmont Road and John Wesley Dobbs. Police found one man shot and another injured after what they said was an attempted robbery. Earlier Sunday, a man was shot off of Campbellton Road at Oakland City Park at around 1 p.m. Police are still investigating that shooting. Another man was shot on Hardy Street at around 3:30 p.m. Sunday. Both victims were taken to the hospital. No suspect information was provided. Another shooting broke out at a nightclub early Sunday morning. One woman who made the trip to Atlanta from Augusta with her friends for a birthday celebration told Channel 2 Action News she and others heard gunshots after leaving the club on Cortlandt Street around 3 a.m. Police worked on another shooting at about the same time a few miles away on Whitehall Street. Officers said the incident stemmed from an argument between 2 men. One man was shot and transported to Grady Hospital. The other man was arrested. I know they keeping Grady busy these days. The series of shootings this weekend followed a violent few weeks in Atlanta. Atlanta and Brookhaven police responded to at least 9 shootings in another 24-hour period earlier this week. Last weekend, 1 person was killed and 11 were injured in several shootings across the city. All right, so although I am making note of these numbers as this particular story is being reported, but that's a separate issue. But again, this is from Channel 2 News in Atlanta, WSB TV. Man found shot to death and burning car caps off violent weekend in Atlanta. So I just wanted to bring this forward to the people to just kind of take note of what's going on. Now, Atlanta is not an isolated event. If you just kind of check in with people, you will see that violence across these metropolitan cities are up. And it seems like the warmer it gets, the more the violence is kicking in as well. Now, there's a couple factors to this, of course. You know, one of them is the economics, as we've talked about. Another is environment. And then there's a spiritual aspect to this, of course, as well. You know, how people are adjusting to energy or not adjusting to energy. So I just wanted to bring this to the family. Please stay safe. Please tell your children to be careful and just really be aware as they're navigating out in these streets, and do not be alone by themselves navigating through these streets, and that's especially women. Please be careful, because just that one particular incident with the young lady at the gas station, those gentlemen truly targeted her. And that's pretty bold to target her in a gas station that was lit up and had cameras. All right. So you all stay safe. I'm going to get into next week a little bit deeper into the economic side of it. But I also want to say that this should be a call to action for all of us. You know, we have to hold each other accountable. It is not okay to push violence upon others. It's not okay to steal from others. We have to hold each other accountable. So I'll get a little bit deeper into that next week on the podcast, probably either Sunday or Monday. Oh, sorry it was this long. You all be safe and take care. Peace and love.